Hare Krishna. So yesterday we completed the second section of the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yoga chapter, Transcendental Knowledge. The second section was the divine nature of Lord Krishna's appearance. So we discussed how there are, Krishna says that he has taken many births, but Arjun also has taken, but he doesn't remember. And then the uniqueness of Krishna's appearance is that he comes through his internal potency. So although he comes in material world, he is unaffected by material world. He is not under the modes of material world. He is coming through he comes in his original transcendental form. Then the seventh word described what is the time of Krishna's appearance, the very famous verse, whenever there is decline in the religious principles. And then eighth verse described the purpose of Krishna's appearance, that is to deliver the pious, to annihilate the miscreants, and to re-establish the principles of religion. And also we discussed that the confidential understanding is Krishna personally comes to just please his devotees who are very anxious to see him. So Prabhupada says that Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than to kill Kamsa, although both were performed simultaneously. Then ninth verse discussed about 9th and 10th verse about what is the result of properly knowing Krishna, about the divinity of Krishna's appearance. If one knows the divinity of Krishna's appearance in this world, then what's the benefit? The benefit is that one, after quitting this material world, one goes to the spiritual world. So if one understands that Krishna's activities are divine, then one becomes free from this material bondage and goes to the spiritual sky, never return again into this material world. And also the 10th verse described how the devotees who become free from attachment for material enjoyment, fear of personal existence, and anger for about confusing conclusions of various philosophies. So they become free from this and they take shelter of the Supreme Lord, and in this way, by being purified by proper devotional knowledge and austerities, they attain to the platform of love, bhava, emotional attachment for the Supreme Lord. So this way, the second section of this chapter ends, and today we will begin with the third section of this chapter, which is from 11th to 15th verses. Krishna, the creator and culmination of all paths. This is the title of this section, 11th to 15th. Krishna, the creator and culmination of all the paths. So last section, we understood that Krishna's dedicated devotees, they consider his birth and activities to be divine and eternal. But others who approach Krishna with different goals, they do not consider so. So what about them? What about others? What about others who don't want to develop that kind of loving devotion for Lord? They have other agendas in their mind while approaching the Lord. So what about them? So Krishna speaks the next verse for that. So please recite 11th verse.
नामदेव अनंत प्रभु.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहम्. मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः. Translation: as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha.
Yeah, so this is very important verse. And one way this verse is the answer for all the questions of life. why God does different things, why there is a different dealings with different type of people. So this is the answer. This is a very, very important verse. Ye yatha mam prapadyante. As people surrender unto me. So as prapadyante, as the people they surrender unto Krishna, tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. Accordingly I reciprocate. So His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj was once telling that the word bhajamyaham, bhajami means I also worship them. I also serve them. So as people come and approach me, they surrender unto me, I also serve them accordingly, or I reciprocates with them accordingly. So everyone follows my path in all respects. Manusha partha sarvashah mama vartmanu vartante. So in this way, this verse is describing how Krishna reciprocates with the worshipper's mood. Okay, so please read some purport.
Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading super soul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotee. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude. Just as the devotees wants him, one devotee may want Krishna as supreme master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally, according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally extended by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence.
Yes, stop. Thank you. So we see first point Prabhupada says is that everyone is searching for Krishna in different aspects of his manifestations. So this is itself is a very, very deep statement to be dwelled upon. Basically, the every hankering of living entity is actually the hankering for Krishna. But a living entity is trying, in material world, the living entity is trying to search for Krishna through Krishna's manifestations. So basically everybody is looking for Krishna. But then because of being illusioned by material energy, the conditioned soul in material world, he thinks that that hankering will be satisfied by various material paraphernalia and material personalities. So the conditioned soul, being bewildered by material energy, searches for Krishna rather than directly connecting to Krishna. He tries to repose that hankering for Krishna in trying to get different material rewards. And in spiritual world is also everybody is hankering for Krishna. But they are directly reposing their hankering on Krishna only. So this is the difference between material world and spiritual world. All the living entities are basically hankering for Krishna. So if you read this Krishna book in that George Harrison has written, all of us are searching for love. and in bracket it is Krishna. So real love is actually found within Krishna. But then in material world, so everyone in this creation, whether material creation, spiritual creation, all living entities, they are all hankering for Krishna. The difference between them is that conditioned souls, they try to repose their hankering or try to satisfy their hankering by trying to uh, get them satisfied through some material manifestations, which are also manifestations of Krishna only. And in the spiritual world, devotees directly relate with Krishna, and in this way, they satisfy their hankering for Krishna. So now among spiritualists also there are different types of spiritualists who approach Krishna in his various ways. So the one spiritualist is those who are hankering to mitigate the miseries of mortal existence, and also they want to commit spiritual suicide, Prabhupada says. Why it is spiritual suicide? Can somebody say? This impersonal Brahmajyoti revelation, why it is considered to be spiritual
Be-
suicide?
because it kills the loving and serving propensity of the soul.
Yeah, because it kills the loving and serving propensity of the soul, which is the innate nature of the soul. If the sugar is not sweet, then what's the use of that sugar? Isn't it? So similarly, if living entity does not serve Krishna, then that living entity's essence is taken away. And that's why uh, those who want to merge into impersonal Brahmajyoti, uh, it is like committing spiritual suicide. Hmm. Yeah. So this is but there are some personalities who want to they want to they want to have that particular type of ghost destination to merge into impersonal Brahmajyoti. Some want to have Paramatma realization, and in this way they realize Krishna only partially. So there are people who don't want to realize Krishna at all. So Krishna gives them facility for all types of material enjoyments based on their karma. There are people who want to realize Krishna's only partial manifestation, you know, in terms of either Brahma Jyoti realization or Paramatma realization, and Krishna satisfies their desires also. Hmm. But if one wants to really understand Krishna and realize Krishna, then one has to be pure devotee of the Lord. So in this way, Prabhupada says Krishna is the object of everybody's realization. But based on how they approach, Krishna satisfies them. And in pure devotees also in the spiritual world, Krishna also manifests himself based on how devotees want to serve him. So one of the reasons, mm, one of the question was asked to one particular particular sannyasi, so was that why at all Krishna expands himself into various forms? Why not to have Krishna only as a form? Why there should be different forms of the Lord? And why not everybody has one type of relationship only? If the Madhurya Rasa is the highest one, why not everybody is in Madhurya Rasa with Krishna? So he was telling that one answer can be yes, Krishna also wants to enjoy in a different manners, and that's why he expands himself into various forms to enjoy in a different ways. And also he creates all different rasas, because different rasas give him lot of enjoyment. At the same time, another answer is that Krishna is a also reciprocator of great love, and different devotees want to see him in a particular form, and in this way Krishna reciprocates with their love by manifesting various forms. So there is one pastime where um, Dwarkadish Lord, he told Garuda that please go and call Hanuman. So when when Garudji went to call Hanuman, Hanumanji said, yes, yes, I am coming. Just some time, I am coming. And Garudji was surprised that how, Hanuman is doing like this. Lord is calling, how can he just say that I'll come in some time? And then Garudji was little disappointed and went to Lord Krishna, Dwarkadish, and he said that, you know, this is what I told Hanuman, and he said he's just coming. And Krishna said, you tell him that Ram is calling you. And then as soon as Garuji told Hanuman that Ram is calling you, immediately, in fact, Hanuman took Garuji on his shoulders and came. Flying and jumping. He came. Why? Because this is what Hanuman's mood is. So that's why in Mahaprakash Leela and at various places we see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave different darshans to his different devotees based on their particular mood. To Sridhar Kolavacha, he gave darshan of Radha Krishna, no, sorry, Krishna Balaram, because he's Gopa in the spiritual world. To Ramananda Rai, who is Vishakha Lalita Sakhis, he gave darshan of Radha Krishna. And to Murari Gupta, he gave darshan of Hanumanji. So, in this way, based on different moods of different devotee, Krishna also reciprocates love with them. So, Krishna rewards all the devotees equally according to their intensities of different love for him. And same way in material world also, different propensities of different people are there, and based on their different types of worship, Lord also reciprocates to them. So, pure devotees, they want to see the Lord, so Lord manifests himself and he sees them. Same thing is about deities also. Because of pure devotee sees deity, Saksha, to Pratima nahi tumi Sakshat Rajendra Nandan. So deity reciprocates with them in a personal manner. But some other religious person, he may think this as a stone and he want to break it. So Krishna does not object, and in this way they can break the deity also, because Krishna doesn't manifest himself as a supreme Lord to them. So in this way, different people desire different things and Supreme Lord reciprocates with their desires. And then Prabhupada says some of them who are not firmly situated even in the impersonal existence, those who are not very much firm about even impersonal liberation, Krishna allows them to return to this material world and fulfill their different desires for various activities. And in this way, they are not given entrance into spiritual planets because they don't want to go to spiritual planets. It's a simple answer. Why does Krishna not take them to spiritual world? Because they don't want to go. So what the living entity desires, based on that Lord reciprocates. Each of the devotees and each of the person in this world, the Lord reciprocates according to his desire. So those devotees who want to see Krishna very intensely, Krishna manifests himself and gives his darshan to them. Those who don't want to see Krishna, the atheist people, Krishna hides himself. Maya javanika channam adhyadhokshajam avyam na lakshase mooda drusha nato natya dharo yatha. Srimati Kunti Devi is praying in Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, those who don't want to see Krishna, Krishna covers himself by his illusory potency. Similarly, Lord rewards those who are fruity workers, the results of their prescribed duties, because they just want some benedictions from the Lord. So Lord gives them only benediction. They don't want Lord, they want some benedictions from the Lord. And those who want yogis, they want mystic perfections. Krishna gives them such mystic perfections. So one thing is that Krishna reciprocates different people as per their desires. At the same time, we have to understand anything one is getting, it is dependent on the mercy of the Lord alone and not on any other factor. Major factor is the mercy of the Lord. Nobody can obtain anything, even a material benediction, even from a demigod or even through one's hard work. Even an atheist cannot get any of the benedictions without Lord's mercy. It is only through Lord's mercy that any person is getting anything he wants. So like that. And then also to different transcendentalists, there are different degrees of progress and different degrees of success based on the different so there are different spiritual processes different people take based on their inclination, and in this way they get different degrees of success on that path. So understanding that Krishna is the ultimate awarder of anything, whether material or spiritual, a devotee, he very intelligently, what he does, he worships Krishna for anything. And that's why Prabhupada quotes akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. This verse Prabhupada quotes so that one understands that if I want anything, ultimate awarder is Krishna only. Even the demigods, that will come ahead. That even demigods cannot independently give any benediction to anyone. Only Krishna, when he sanctions, then only they can give. So in this way, devotees who worship Krishna to in love to go to Golok Vrindavan, so they go to Golok Vrindavan. But the Brahmavadis, they worship Krishna to merge into Brahman, so they are also awarded their desired result. And in this way, they can go to Brahma Jyoti. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in this regards, what he comments is that one may say, certainly, O Krishna, your exclusive devotees consider your birth and activities to be eternal. Others, however, do not. In that category are Gyanis and others who approach you to perfect their own process of Jnana and so on. And they do not consider your birth and activities as eternal. So sometimes the impersonalist, what they consider, that ultimate is impersonal Brahma Jyoti. And when the impersonal Brahma Jyoti is affected by mode of goodness, it becomes Lord Vishnu's various incarnations. That is their wrong understanding. So they don't consider Lord's pastimes and form to be eternal. So Krishna responds to this consideration in the verse beginning, Ye. Ye means in the whatever manner person approaches me, bhajanti, I reciprocate them by giving them the fruits of their service. To those who think my Lord's birth and activities are eternal and who worship me with desires centered on my personal pastimes and in this way experience great happiness, I reciprocate in that kind. Being the Supreme Lord, capable of doing anything, undoing anything, or making anything otherwise, I make such devotees my own parshadas or perfect devotees in order to make their birth and activities eternal. So those who approach Krishna in a personal form, Lord makes them his parshadas. And in this way, their own birth and activities also become eternal. Devotees' birth and activities also. Now, Lord says also that I descend to this world at suitable times along with these devotees. Which devotees? The devotees who have desired to reciprocate with Krishna in his personal form, who have become parshads now. So such devotees come also along with the Supreme Lord, and in this way they come with the Supreme Lord and also disappear along with the Supreme Lord. Like we see all Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates came with him, and after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared, one by one they also disappeared from this world. I thus show my favor to them at every moment. I bestow on them pure love of God as the fruit of their reciprocation with me. So Krishna always keeps them with him, whether he comes to material world or he remains in spiritual world. And in this way, those who desire constant association with Krishna, they get so because they want to be with Krishna always, so they get it. To those Gyanis and others who consider my birth and activities temporary and my personal form a product of Maya, yet who still try to reciprocate with me, I respond it in the kind by making them accept temporary births and activities again and again. I cause them to fall into the noose of Maya's illusion, and in this way I give them the reward they deserve, the miseries of birth and death. So this is talking about Mayavadis who consider Lord's form is made up of Maya. So they had to take again and again birth and death cycle. They cannot escape it. They again and again they have to go through the path of birth, cycle of birth and death, because they are considering Lord's form not to be eternal. It is temporary, and that's why they also have to keep on taking temporary forms. There are other Gyanis, however, who consider my birth and activities eternal and my personal form a manifestation of perfect eternality, knowledge and bliss, but they approach me to worship me for the sake of perfecting their own process of Jnana. So such Brahmavadis, these are Brahmavadis, these are not Mayavadis, these are Brahmavadis. So these persons simply want to destroy their gross and subtle bodies and obtain liberation. I thus arrange for their attainment of eternal Brahmananda and bestow on them as the fruit of their worship an end to birth and death in the realm of ignorance. So, in this way, Krishna says that not only my devotees reciprocate with me, but in all different ways, all kinds of human beings follow my path through jnana, karma, yoga, worshippers of demigods, and in this way Everybody is following the Lord's path. In other words, because I incorporate myself in all various identities, Krishna says, all the process of jnana, karma, and so on constitute the path towards me. So that is for mama vartmanu vartante manushaha partha sarvashah. Lord manifests himself in various identities so that different living entities, they can satisfy their desires, and in this way uh, Lord reciprocates with them. But those living entities who are on the spiritual path, so ultimately all these paths are meant for attaining realization of Krishna, love for Krishna, but there are various steps on that path. That is what is called as yoga ladder. So various personalities are on the different rungs of yoga ladder, which but ultimately leads to Krishna. Now one may ask, if Krishna, the Supreme Lord, gives a soul whatever he wants, why don't more persons surrender to him? Why do they worship others to fulfill their desires? If Krishna is there to reciprocate, why they are surrendering to others? So that is answered in the 12th verse. Please recite 12th verse.
Nayan Prabhu.
शन्तः कर्मणं सिद्धिं
काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं
यजन्त इह देवता
यजन्त इह देवताः
विप्रमीमानुषे लोके
क्षिप्रं हि मानुषं लोके
सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Translation: Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world.
Yeah. So we had to understand that people in this world are on different paths. They do not realize different things. Actually, they realize different degrees and aspects of Krishna. Because Krishna is Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, Krishna is present everywhere, and there is nothing separate from Krishna. So in this way, it's not that people are realizing different things, they are simply realizing different degrees and aspects of Krishna. So now this verse is speaking about why people go to somebody else. So why people worship devatas? Because they their desire for enjoyment is very strong, and in this way they want to get quick results. So such a desire for enjoyment and get quick results is actually an obstacle on the path of Nishkama Karma Yoga, because they are too much result oriented, too much fruits oriented. And in this way, they want quick results, and that's why they worship different demigods. Yeah. So Prabhupada says in the purport that men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Now, these demigods not the various forms of Supreme Lord? They are not literally the various forms of Supreme Lord, but they are various vibhutis of the Supreme Lord. So these demigods are not as good as Krishna, but they are empowered ministers in Krishna's assembly. So one sense, Krishna manifests himself in the form of various demigods, but they are not considered to be on an equal platform with Vishnu Tattva. This has to be understood. So especially in India, this concept is very, very common, right? People say everybody is same only, whether you take Vishnu or Brahma or Shiva, Durga, Ganesha, everybody is same. So everybody is not same, So in this way, their knowledge is deluded. So Prabhupada says the demigods are not different forms of the Lord, but they are God's different parts and parcels. So Supreme Lord is one, and demigods are delegated with the powers to manage this material world. So these demigods are actually also living entities, with different degrees of material powers. So different demigods have different material powers. Now, anyone who thinks that God and demigods are on equal level is, according to scriptures, he is called as Pashandi. So Prabhupada at other places he quotes Padma Purana and other Puranas also for this particular verse. Who thinks that demigods and Krishna is on the same level. And even in our chanting, this is the second offense to consider Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be on the equal platform with Lord Vishnu. So that's how Prabhupada says even these great demigods cannot be compared to Supreme Lord. In fact, Supreme Lord is the worshipable object for even the demigods. Yam Brahma, Rudra, Varunendra, Sutibhir, Prabhrutibhir, Stunvanti. So these are all always worshipping the Supreme Lord and they are glorifying the Supreme Lord. So Iha Devata means any demigod or even a powerful man of this material world. So Prabhupada says that even Shankaracharya accepted that Supreme Lord Krishna, he is beyond this material world. Anybody knows the quote of Shankaracharya in these regards?
Parabrahmalingam bhaje Panduranga.
Okay.
Narayana Paro
Narayana
Avyaktat.
Paravyaktat.
Narayana Paro Avyaktat.
Avyaktat.
Yes, this is the quote of Shankaracharya, which Prabhupada often quotes. You know, that he says that Supreme Lord, Narayan, he is beyond. Avyakta means unmanifested material world also. What to speak of manifested material creation? Even he is beyond unmanifested material creation. So unmanifested material creation is basically, which is not manifest to us right now, that is upper planetary systems. So even beyond that, Supreme Lord is there.
Gita Mahatma also, no, Prabhuji?
Gita Mahatmya also, yeah.
Ekam Devo.
Okay. We are particularly quoting for this thing, Narayan being transcendental to this material world. The quote from Shankaracharya about it. Now, however, foolish people, Prabhupada, Ritagyana, they worship demigods. Why? So despite the fact that Krishna is Supreme Master, so but still they worship, people worship demigod because they want immediate results. So now, Krishna doesn't give immediate results. That we'll see little ahead. But people, they want quick results for their worship. So there is this stotras are also there. Na? Shadbir Masir Phalam Vade. Within 6 months, you will get the result. Like that. But the point is that the results they get, they may get quick results, but they are temporary. And that's why they are meant for less intelligent people. So demigods, their worshippers, as well as the fruits they get from the worship of demigods, that will be vanquished by the annihilation of material worlds. So in this way, all are temporary. Demigods are temporary, their boons are temporary, and their worshippers are also temporary. So sometimes people may not worship demigods, but they worship powerful human beings in the society, isn't it? So people worship politicians. Nowadays, politicians' worship is very much famous, isn't it? And different babas and different. So His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu calls them as semi-gods. Semi-gods means semi-god. मुझे God कहो ऐसे बोलने वाले semi-gods. You know. So in this way, people worship them. Some people worship powerful politicians. You see politicians worship is very famous also. Any school or anywhere you go, offices, government offices, always that they'll display the pictures of politicians or some kings or something like that. Hardly they ever display the photo of Supreme Lord. And there are so many statues of politicians are worshipped. So whatever they may worship, but all these personalities are temporary. And at least demigods are there for long time for this entire Manvantara. But these semi-gods or these powerful leaders and all, once they are dead and gone, they cannot do anything for us. Although people may keep worshipping them. These previous prime ministers or something, people may worship them like Lenin. This communist may worship Lenin or somebody. But Lenin cannot do anything now. Lenin is in another body. So he cannot do anything for that worshipper. So that's a fully hoax only. But those who are worshipping demigods, that's a real worship. but it is a temporary worship. So ultimately, but all people who are worshipping somebody in this material world, Prabhupada said, all of them are therefore kowtowing. Prabhupada said, all of them are therefore kowtowing to the so-called leaders or big guns. This word is used, right? Big guns. He's a big gun. In order to achieve temporary boons, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardship of material existence. So they are satisfied with simply some temporary boons, but once the effect is over, again they are into the pools of miseries of material existence. So they are not interested in making permanent solution for our sufferings of the life. So in this way, Prabhupada says that this verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are rarely interested. Why? Because most of the people want quick results, temporary results. They don't want long term. They don't want eternal results. So one who worships Krishna for material benefits obtains his desires. But so one may say, does Krishna not give fulfillment of material desires? If one is filled with material desires, previous verse we quoted, akama sarva kamo va moksha kama dudaradhi. So does Krishna not award material desires? Oh, even the material desires which are rewarded by demigods, it is Krishna only fulfilling through demigods. So those who are more intelligent, they go to Krishna directly. But then why people should worship demigods? The answer is that because those who worship Krishna for material benedictions, they obtain their desires. But first of all, Krishna purifies his heart, and this type of purification takes time. And that's why the material rewards a devotee gets are delayed. Krishna does not fulfill them very quickly. One of the such example is Dhruva Maharaj. So because Krishna first of all purifies his heart, and that's how the purification is takes some time, and the rewards he may get, but they are delayed. So therefore, greedy people who want material benedictions, they worship demigods who are Krishna's servants to get quick results. Now, one person, he may worship demigods for fruitive results, another person worships Brahman, and yet another person worships Krishna with devotion. So also, because the person is purified by worshipping Krishna, even through material desires, it happens that after fulfilling, even though he may get, after worshipping Krishna, even though he may get his material desire fulfilled, but he becomes also free from material desires because his heart is purified now. So that's what happened with Dhruva Maharaj. Although Krishna gave him what material desire he wanted, Krishna gave him, fulfilled his material desire, but Dhruva Maharaj said what? Kachan vichinman apidavya rattam swamin krutarthosmi varam na yache. He said that I don't want anything, O Lord, because I am satisfied simply by seeing you. So now, does that mean that Krishna, who is the supreme controller, who is supreme Ishvara, does he control our desires? Does Krishna decides what one person will be materialistic, other person will be devotee, other person will be a struggling spiritual aspirant? Is it what Krishna decides? Is Krishna the supreme controller responsible for the sufferings and enjoyment, pain and pleasure of everyone in this world? So that will be answered in the next verse. So please recite 13th verse.
Rahul Prabhu. Rohit Prabhu.
Okay. Chaturvanyam maya srishtam
Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam
na karma vibhagasha
gunakarma
na kartaram api imam
tasya kartaramapi mam
vidya kartaram avyayam.
vidhi akartaramavyayam.
Translation. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, The four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non doer, being unchangeable.
Yeah. So these verses are very nice in the sense lot of contradictions are there. Previous verse Krishna says, everybody, I reciprocate according to different propensities, and in this way everybody follows my path. Here he says, I created four divisions, with 8 divisions basically of Varnashrama, but I am still non-creator. Tasya akartaram. He says that mm, Tasya kartaram api ma vidhi akartaram also. Kartaram also, na akartaram also. Then future also you will see, Krishna says, one should see action in inaction and inaction in action. So when we say, what is this going on? So this is what Gyani language is. Gyani like this, something kind of nicely titillating for their intellect. So something should be there. Ishopanishad also will find some verses. Krishna walks also. Tad dure tad avantike. Krishna walks also. Krishna doesn't walk. He's near also. He doesn't walk. He's farthest also. So these are very titillating for jnanis, and that's how Krishna says this. So Krishna has created 4 varnas. So this verse is very famous. Prabhupada quoted it again and again. Now there are two parts for this verse. First 2 parts and first part is where Krishna is telling he has created this the Varnashrama system, which Prabhupada often quote. Based on what? Based on guna and karma, based on the qualities and activities, and not based on birth. It is not written janma and karma, it is written guna and karma. So is the first part of this verse. Another part of this verse is the answer to our question which we discussed just before this verse. Does Krishna control anybody's desires? Is that Krishna making anybody a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or what is the phenomenon? That's the second part of this verse. So Prabhupada would often quote first part. So Prabhupada says in the purport that everything is born of Lord, everything is sustained by him, and everything after annihilation rests in him. Therefore, Krishna is also the source of this Varnashrama system, 4 divisions of social order, intelligent class, which is Brahmana, then and this now these Brahmanas are, what is this Varnas? These Varnas are based on the different combinations of the 3 modes of material nature. That's how these Varnas are created. So Brahmanas are in mode of goodness primarily, and that's why they are intelligent class. Next is administrative class. They are Kshatriyas and they are situated in mode of passion. Next is mercantile class. They are Vaishyas, situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance. And next is Shudras, who are situated in the mode of, they are laborer class, situated in the mode of ignorance. So Prabhupada is to say that you cannot annihilate this. When Prabhupada went to Russia and he met Professor Kotovsky there, that he said, this Varnashrama system, you cannot annihilate. It is naturally present everywhere. Prabhupada said, just see, you are a professor, so are an intelligent class. There are some administrators in your country, they are administrative class. There are some people who are business people, so they are Vaishya class, and there are laborers who are Shudra class. So you cannot artificially annihilate this system. This is the natural system. His Holiness Bhakti Raghav Swami Maharaj was telling that just like devotional service is the constitutional dharma of living entity, similarly the dharma of all conditioned souls is Varnashrama, and you cannot annihilate it. It is not possible. Always these 4 classes will be existing, and Prabhupada will be always, he was always speaking about it, that 4 classes are by default there in this material world. Wherever you go, never all people are equal. And in Russia, that's why through communism they try to make everybody equal, but it did not happen. Still there are classes over there, because there are different modes. The people of different modes, people are affected by different modes, they are conditioned by different modes, and that's why there are various classes of people. Now, Prabhupada said, despite Krishna is creating the 4 divisions of human society, Krishna does not belong to any one of these divisions. So just because Krishna played the part of Vaishya in the earlier part of his life doesn't mean he belongs to a Vaishya category, or later on he became a Kshatriya category. He was advanced to Kshatriya category. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So because this Varnashrama is for conditioned souls, Krishna is not one of the conditioned souls. So Krishna, that's why this Varnashrama does not apply on Krishna. So Prabhupada says human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above mentioned divisions were created by the Lord for systematic development of Krishna consciousness. So unless and until people take to Varnashrama system, that particular human society is actually animal society only. Without Varnashrama, one cannot be considered to be a human society. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is also above even the Brahmana stage. So Lord is transcendental to Varnashrama. Similarly, even a person in Krishna consciousness, he is also transcendental to Varnashrama system. And although Brahmanas are by qualities supposed to know Brahman, the supreme absolute truth, most of them approach only impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord. But one who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, and in this way he becomes a Vaishnava. So Vaishnava is certainly even superior to Brahmana, who is within the Varnashrama system. He is bound by mode of goodness, but a Vaishnava is transcendental to it. So in this way, as Krishna is transcendental to this system of Varnashrama, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to this system. So this is how Varnashrama is created by the Lord only, and it's a natural system for default system for conditioned souls. And Prabhupada is to say, emphasize so much, Krishna created this based on guna karma. So in India, our Vedic culture has suffered a great loss because of overemphasizing birth and not guna karma. This is the misconception is still present within India that person belongs to particular varna based on his birth. So birth can be a facility, but that's not the sufficient criteria. Prabhupada is to say, just like somebody who is the son of High Court judge, he has a great facility to become High Court judge, because since childhood that child will be going to court, and he will see his father giving different judgments. Father will have big books about laws, and the child may also, as he grows into young man, he may happen to read them. He has ready guidance available about how to become a judge. So in this way he has a very great facility of becoming judge. Father can very easily tell him, read this book, now do you do this, now you do that. So in this way he has great facility to become judge. But that doesn't mean simply by becoming the son of High Court judge, person becomes High Court judge. No, that's not a sufficient criteria. He also has to undergo the college training, and he has to pass the exams. He has to do proper practice, and then will be elevated to the position of High Court judge. So same way, somebody just because born in a particular varna doesn't mean he's automatically like that. So that's why what Veda's injunction says, Janmana Jayate Shudra, by birth everybody is Shudra, actually speaking. Everybody is Shudra by birth. That's why everybody is in ignorance only by birth. But Sanskarat Bhavet Dvijaha, by different sanskaras, person becomes twice born. So generally Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya are considered to be twice born. So that happens not by birth, by sanskarat. By sanskaras, one becomes twice born. So there may be a great facility to become particular varna through by being born in that particular varna, but one has to still be trained and through proper samskaras and through proper education, and in this way he acquires that qualification of that particular varna, like that. So in this way, the purpose of varnashram system is to help everyone from the material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. So this is the ultimate purpose of varnashram system also, to gradually elevate people to Krishna consciousness. Now, although Varnashram system was created by Krishna, it is not he who places jivas within that system. This fact is mentioned in the 11th verse. Ye yathamam prapadyante. So Krishna is impartial, and that's how what he does is he simply reciprocates with the desires of living entities. It is not that he chooses somebody to be Brahmana and he chooses somebody to be Kshatriya. No, it is based on the living entity's desires that he acquires different qualities of modes. So based on his desires, based on his activities, a living entity gets entangled in a particular set of combination of modes, and in this way he is placed into particular varnashrama system. So in this way Krishna is akartaram. Although he is kartaram of varnashrama, he has created the facility, but he is akartaram. Why akartaram? Because he is not forcing any living entity to be a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya or shudra. That is living entity's own choice, you know. So in this way Krishna is always non-doer, akartaram, and he does not directly reward anyone the fruits of work. In addition, Krishna himself is always transcendental to Varnashram system, despite the fact that he, while in this world, follows the prescribed duties of his Varna and Ashram. So although Krishna acted as a Kshatriya, although in the beginning part he acted as a Vaishya, but still he is beyond it. So even while acting as though under Varnashrama, he does not act within it. In that sense, Krishna is also non-doer or non-actor in relationship to Varnashrama. So there are two meanings of akartaram. One is that Krishna is non-doer, means he does not, although he may appear to act within a particular varnashrama system, but he is not bound by it. Second is that Krishna does not decide on a particular living entity's free choice. He does not decide that this living entity shall become this one, he will become that one. It is living entity has their own free will. So in this way, Krishna is always transcendentally situated, and that's why he is not elevated by following the system. He is always unchangeable. Now, so Krishna being non-doer and unchangeable, so why? Because he is absolute truth, and that's why he is always aloof. So although he is creator of Varnashrama system, he neither awards results nor reactions. He is neither contaminated nor transformed. It is not that Krishna becomes elevated. Because he did Vaishya work very nicely, he slowly became Kshatriya. And because he did nice Kshatriya work, now next life he took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a Brahmana birth. So this is not the Krishna has got elevated through properly following Varnashrama duties. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. He is always unchangeable, avyayam. So in this way, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme controller and the cause of all causes, yet he does not accept the responsibility for everything that happens to the jivas. It is jivas who must take that responsibility for what is happening to them. So that's why Bhuri Janpur is writing, we each must take responsibility for what happens to us, even though everything ultimately depends on Krishna. How it is? Krishna only sanctions, sometimes against his own desires. When a living entity wants to do wrong thing, Krishna doesn't want to allow living entity to do it, but because living entity is adamant, so Krishna sanctions it against his own desires. So our wayward and rebellious activities are sanctioned by the Lord, and that's how their subsequent results are also sanctioned by the Lord, because those activities are products of the expression of our free will. So Krishna is undoubtedly the cause of all causes. Nothing happens without his sanction. Yet, for our rectification, he allows us to act as we like. In the meantime, he waits the time when we will turn to him and offer him loving service. He is patiently waiting when this jiva is going to turn to me. But till that time, simply Krishna mercifully keeps on awarding and sanctioning the desires of living entities based on their karma account. Material nature awards. So Krishna awards living entities material things through material nature. And in this way, material nature is the medium So material nature awards to those who do not turn to him the pious and impious fruits of their activities. Those who don't turn to Krishna, their pious and impious results are awarded through material nature. So in this verse, Krishna explains that he is a karta, non-doer. Now, previously, if you remember that verse, Krishna had said, Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So now, if we consider ourselves to be doer, that is not correct. And then Krishna, he says here, he is also not the doer. Then what is the right concept? So Krishna has spoken in this is the 3rd chapter, 27th verse. So Krishna has spoken that if one consider ourselves as the cause of the results of our activities, then we are bewildered. Now here Krishna is telling us not only that we are not the doer, but he himself is also not the doer. Then he is doing everything. That's what Bhurijan Prabhu asked the question. So Krishna, the answer is that Krishna sometimes take one side of the issue and sometimes take another side. So if a living entity thinks that because of my own efforts and my own power I have accomplished anything, so that time Krishna brings him to the ground level and he says that, hey, you are not the doer. Don't think that you deserve the entire credit. So he want to emphasize our position as tiny souls who should not be falsely proud of our prowess, and do not become attached to the fruits of activities. And in this way he emphasizes that you are not the doer. So you are not the cause of the fruits of activities. And in this way, who does it? It is material nature who is giving you the fruits, not you. You are not the cause of fruits. So in this way, Krishna wants the living entity to bring to the ground level. At the same time, when the living entity wants to become irresponsible, then Krishna says that he himself is also not the doer. So Krishna wants living entity to take full responsibility for his actions and their reactions. And that's why that time Krishna stresses that he is also non-doer. So in actuality, Krishna, material nature, and living entity, all three of them are doers to different degrees. The living entity acts, Krishna sanctions, and material nature facilitates. In this way, all three of them are doers. Yet, the weight of responsibility lies on whom? On the living entity only. Why? Because living entity is desiring, and based on the desires of living entity, Krishna is sanctioning. That's why whatever happens to living entity, that responsibility lies on living entity only. He cannot blame anybody else. He cannot blame God. He cannot blame material nature. He cannot blame demigods. So although living entity has no independent power to act, he initiates actions by his desires, while both super soul and material nature being neutral, both of them are neutral. They are not forcing you to desire in a particular way. And in this way, because they are neutral, they simply facilitate the desire of living entities. They fulfill the desire of living entities. So in this way, Krishna is clarifying the whole concept. He is Kartaram also and Akartaram also. He has created the facility of Varnashrama, but he has not forced any living entity to accept that particular Varnashrama. That is living entity's own initiative and responsibility. Okay, so please recite the 14th verse.
Rasa Rasik Prabhu.
Okay, बोल. नमाम कर्माणि लिप्यन्ते
Namam karmani limpanti,
न मे कर्म फले स्पृहा
name karma phale spruha,
इति माम यो विजानाति
iti mam yo bijanati,
कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते.
karma bhir nasabadhyate.
Translation: There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me
also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work.
Yes. So there is a particular religion in which they say that Krishna is residing in hell. Now Krishna is in hell, they say. Why? Because he caused such a mass massacre through battlefield of Kurukshetra. That's why he is living in the hell. He has gone to hell. So this type of concepts are refuted by Krishna in this verse. Namam karmani limpanti. Krishna is never, limpanti means chipakna literally. Means what? जो कर्म है वो भगवान को कभी चिपकते नहीं है. इसका मतलब क्या है? Krishna is never bound by the reactions for his actions. So although Krishna has appeared in a Kshatriya family and he has performed activities obligated to Kshatriyas, so but Krishna says that he is still non-doer, and in result, so he is not the person who is bound by such activities. Namam karmani. So Krishna's work does not affect him. So Prabhupada says in the purport, just like the king is not subject to the state laws. Similarly, the Lord, although he is the creator of this material world, is not affected by the activities of material world. So although he may create, he also does maintenance, he annihilates, but he is aloof. He is aloof from material creation. Unlike conditioned souls, they are not aloof. When they do something in material world, they are bound by the fruitive results. Because they want to lord it over material result, material nature. So that's why they are bound by this particular law of action and reaction. So Prabhupada says that the proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. So sometimes people say, why does Krishna make us act in wrong way? Why does God make us in act wrong way? So it is not that God is making us to act in wrong way. God is giving us the facility to act in a wrong way because we are adamant about it. But who is making us act in a wrong way? Anybody can answer? Who is making us act in a wrong way?
Our desire.
Our
Lust.
desires.
Lust.
Lust, correct. If you
Lust.
remember from the previous chapter, Arjun was asking that, how one is impelled to act even against one's own desire. So Krishna said what? Kama esha, krodha esha, rajo guna samadbhava. Now who has given us that lust?
In association with mode of passion.
It is mode of passion who has given. So why mode of passion has given us the lust?
Because we desire.
Because we desired like that. Because we desired and acted in that way. That's why that particular mode is acting upon us. And that's why there is lust. So ultimately, the living entity himself is responsible. So Prabhupada says that the proprietor is not responsible of a particular action. It is not that a company owner is responsible for good work done by company employees or bad work done by company employees. The employees themselves are responsible. Similarly, the living entities are engaged in the respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. Lord is not telling a particular person that you do this type of sense gratification. It is living entity who himself desires in that way. So Prabhupada says further, the proprietor never desires the low grade happiness such as the workers may desire. Workers may think, और ये थोड़ा बीड़ी फूकने को मिल गया तो अच्छा हो जाएगा. But a proprietor never desires such a low grade happiness. He is aloof from material actions and reactions. So similarly, Lord, he has no interest in material enjoyment. So it is not that the Lord wanted to enjoy the kingdom by making Arjun fight battlefield of Kurukshetra. There was no personal interest for the Lord. It was only for the sake of proper order in the society, in the world. For that, Lord made this Kurukshetra battle happen, so that all the demoniac forces will be killed and virtuous Yudhishthir Maharaj will ascend to the throne. But Lord has nothing to enjoy through this, like that. And Prabhupada gives particular example that one sense the rains are responsible for vegetation, but the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth. Although without rain, such vegetation is not possible. So rains cause the vegetation, but different vegetations are because of their different seeds. And in this way, different vegetations take place. So Kartaram, Akartaram both. And that's how Prabhupada is quoting some Smriti Shastra for that. So in this way, the created beings are of many varieties, such as demigods, human beings, lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good and bad activities. The Lord only gives them the proper facilities for such activities and the regulations for modes of material nature, but he is never responsible for their past and present activities. So a living entity should not blame, भगवान आपने मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों किया? भगवान ने हमारे साथ कुछ नहीं किया है. लॉर्ड इज न्यूट्रल. उपदृष्टा, अनुमंता, भर्ता, भोक्ता, महेश्वर. You know, so he is udasin, he is neutral. He is not making us, he is not forcefully putting us into particular situation. It is only due to reactions of the past activity that a living entity is put into particular situation. And that's how Prabhupada quotes Vedanta Sutra, where it says, Vaishamya Nairgrunhe cha Sapekshatvat. The Lord is never partial to any living entity. The living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him the facilities to the agency of material nature to facilitate his desires. So in this way, Lord is not partial. He is not trying to give great riches to one person and making other persons struggle for even basic maintenance. It is not that he is making one person very intelligent and another person very buddhu. This is not Lord's desire. It is the particular karma of a particular living entity. So now another thing Krishna had also said, that one who understands the transcendental nature of the Lord, one who understands that Lord is beyond the laws of material nature, he is never affected by the laws of material nature, such a man, Prabhupada says, is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he never is subjected to the laws of karma. So not only the Lord is free from the laws of karma, a person who understands that such a fact, he also becomes transcendental to the laws of karma. He also becomes free from laws of karma. On the other hand, one who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at particular fruitive results, as are the activities of living entities, he certainly entangles himself in fruitive reactions. One who thinks that Lord is also like a human being, want to enjoy some things of material world, such a person is entangled in the fruitive reactions. So in this way, conditioned souls, they are bound by their independent desires for pleasure, and that's how they act based on those desires. Their attempts cause the modes of material natures to react, which results in activity and its reactions. Whereas Krishna's own actions are different. Krishna engages in many activities, but while acting, he is materially aloof and materially desireless, because his activities are within the internal energy. You remember the verse, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. So there is no material reaction for Lord. And that's why Lord is free from always material modes of nature. Also, because Krishna does not desire anything materially, because he has nothing to desire in material world. If you remember, Prabhupada says in the purport, the proprietor does not desire low class pleasure. So material pleasure is the low class pleasure for Lord, and Lord never desires such material pleasure. And in this way, there are no reactions, because he has no material desires, so he has no reactions for his work. So in this way, both Krishna and his unalloyed devotees also, who have no material desires, they are not under material control, they are transcendental to material control, and in this way they don't fall within varnashrama system, despite they appear to willingly follow the rules and regulations of varnashrama system, the duties of varnashrama system. So in this way, when Jiva understands these facts about Krishna, applies this transcendental knowledge to his own work, and he becomes servant of Krishna, then he also becomes aloof from whirlpool of material actions and reactions. He also becomes aloof from that. Okay. So maybe we'll stop here because our time is up. Although we have gone very slow through last 2 days, we covered only 8 verses, but these concepts were very important and there were quite long purports given by Prabhupada, so they were going very slow. So next, but it will go faster more because the purports are also relatively smaller and the concepts are more or less covered before. So we will not repeat those concepts. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, I'll take some questions now. There are some questions here in chat box. What happens to those souls who get absorbed into effulgence of the Lord? They remain over there. They remain over there for rest of the eternity probably. They simply remain over there. And that's why devotees don't desire that position, because that's why purpose it is like committing spiritual suicide, because living entity by nature is very active, and such living entity, if he has to simply remain in Brahma Jyoti, it is very painful state, one sense. It is not a proper utilization of living entity's potential to serve Krishna. So that's why devotees do not kaivalyam narakayate for devotees. You said Jnanis consider Krishna's form to be eternal, but they are seeking perfection of Jnana. But perfection of Jnana is also Parabrahma, Paramdhama, Shri Krishna. That is true, but they may not be up to that level of realization. So they are more attracted to impersonal Brahma Jyoti of the Lord. Although they accept Krishna's form to be eternal, but their realization is limited to impersonal Brahma Jyoti. They are not come to that perfectional stage of realizing Krishna as Parabrahma, Param Dhyana. That's why Bahunam Gandvanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti. It may take lifetimes for them to realize that Krishna is all in all. So that way, their realization is partial. It is not fully developed yet. So that's why they may want to merge into impersonal Brahma Jyoti. What happens to that devotee whose heart is not purified and he keeps having material desires? So his desires are Acha, devotee whose heart is not purified, he keeps having material desires. Yeah, so Lord will arrange to purify his heart and also fulfill his material desires, the way it happened with Dhruva Maharaj. So Lord will slowly purify, he will give him. So that's what we discussed this point, that his desires, material desires will also be fulfilled, but in due course of time, when his heart becomes little pure, and eventually he will lose that material desire also. So this is precisely happened with Dhruva Maharaj. If Varnashram is already there, it can't be destroyed, and everyone is naturally following that, then someone might ask, what is the need of Varnashrama? Since it's already there, we'll get human status eventually. What Varnashram is there, it is in a corrupted state currently in the name of caste system. Varnashram doesn't mean only division of classes, but also there are certain rules and regulations, certain duties that has to be done. Like somebody may be an intelligent class, Brahmana, so he can be considered to be like a Brahmana, intelligent class. But what he has to do? He also has to develop the quality Shamo, Damo, Tapas, Shaucham, Titiksha, Ksharti, Marjaram, Jnana, Vijnanam, Astikam. These qualities he should develop. Then he becomes actually Brahmana. So only karma of a Brahmana is not sufficient. Guna of a Brahmana also should be acquired. Otherwise, it becomes a Asuric Varnashrama system, which is a current caste system. There is no qualities, only activities are there. So activity wise person may be in particular status through Varnashrama, but quality also has to be developed. If I approach a police officer and ask him for his pistol and I am being adamant, he gives it to me. Both are responsible for the crime that is committed by the criminal. So isn't the Lord is also responsible for what Jiva was doing since he's sanctioning? No, Lord is sanctioning against his desire. Lord is not willingly sanctioning wrong activities. He's sanctioning unwillingly because, uh, the difference, the analogy you have quoted is wrong analogy. Why wrong analogy? Because there is no love between police officer and you. But if that police officer is your father, and if you are adamant, then what he will do? He'll give you a toy gun and he will allow you, okay, you keep on shooting now. Hmm. So because Lord loves living entity, so Lord allows living entity is very adamant to fulfill his material desires. Lord tries to educate him through Guru Sadhu Shastra. He tries to educate him through conscience within, but living entity is very adamant. So Lord allows to fulfill that material desire in a limited way, not in unlimited way, because he loves living entity. If Lord will not fulfill, then the living entity will become totally against Lord. That's why Lord fulfills the desires of living entities. So the example which is given in this regards was when one of the sons of Srila Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was in Grihastha ashram, he wanted to touch the rotating fan. And again Prabhupada was uh, saying, no, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. But the son was very adamant. Then one of the friend of Srila Prabhupada was there. And he said, you just reduce the speed of fan and then allow him to touch, because he's not going to listen. So then Prabhupada did so, and then he allowed his son, now you put. And then what happened? That rotating fan hit the fingers of his son. So it did not cut, but it hit, and there was some pain. And then he asked, Prabhupada asked his son, so now you want to put? He said, no, 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 I don't want to put now. So why Prabhupada why Prabhupada allowed? Because he was so adamant. But the reduced speed. So in this way, living entity also wants to commit all kinds of abominable action for his material enjoyment, but Lord gives them limited material enjoyment. And that's how through laws of material nature, the material enjoyment is limited. Another example Prabhupada gives in Srimad Bhagavatam is a tuition teacher. The child is not listening only. So father appoints a tuition teacher to discipline the child. And child may say, Arey, this tuition teacher is my father's servant. Still, I can do anything and everything I like. But the tuition teacher will strongly discipline him. And father is allowing. Why is allowing? Out of love for his child. Because child is very adamant. He doesn't want to study. So that's why he appoints a tuition teacher for him. So regarding
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
yesterday's verse, yeah.
Yes, Guruji. Regarding this previous question only, Guruji, you said that how Lord and Jiva has this loving relationship between each other. So even if Jiva is adamant, the Lord will permit it, and whatever suffering might come due to that, it will be reduced to some extent, so that Jiva learns that. But if we see that Jiva is still adamant and he's still desiring for some unhealthy things, and Lord is sanctioning it, and Jiva eventually falls down to, let's say, hellish planets. What could be more worse than that? I mean, anyway, he's still suffering. So how do we understand that Lord is still reducing that suffering of the Jivas?
Lord doesn't reduce the
father.
suffering of jivas. He gives appropriate suffering based on this thing, his activities. Why he should reduce the sufferings? He gives appropriate sufferings. Lord restricts
That example.
No, Lord restricts the sinful activities of jivas. He tries to restrict. The example is not that he reduces his suffering. He tries to restrict him. By reducing the fan. Means what? He tries to restrict the sufferings of the living entities, wrong desires. He does not reduce sufferings. He gives appropriate sufferings so that they will learn the lesson. But some jivas are so adamant that they want to headlong go on. So Lord also allows them to get severely punished by material nature. And in this way, they learn some lessons. And also there is a parallel arrangement of Guru Sadhu Shastra, holy names and prasadam, and so many unlimited benefits Lord has arranged, that simply by getting these little benefits like taking Krishna Prasadam or once chanting holy names, one is saved from that hellish situation. So if a living entity, he has such a grand facility for being saved, so isn't it a mercy of the Lord? So it is not proper to say that Lord is simply reducing the suffering somehow. He gives appropriate suffering based on what is the karma of living entity. When he reduces the suffering, when the living entity agrees to reform himself by taking to devotional service, then the sufferings are reduced. He gets token punishments. Like that. Regarding yesterday's verse 4.9, can you please explain how by knowing transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and activities one can go back to Godhead? Yes, most of the devotees know and have faith in this. Does this mean that all the devotees are qualified to go back to Godhead? And also that, is there any deep meaning to the word tattvataha used in this verse? Yes. So one sense, all of the devotees are qualified to go back to Godhead because they are having faith on this, so they can go back to Godhead. We should not doubt Krishna's statements. So the word tattvataha, Prabhupada says, means they have faith. So there should be strong faith on the Supreme Lord being transcendental. So what happens when when a person, a devotee, understands tattvataha, Lord's activities and his birth to be transcendental? He develops great affection and love for the Lord, because he understands, oh, my Lord is so merciful, he's so wonderful, activities are so nice. In this way, his heart becomes imbued with these transcendental activities and form and pastimes and birth of the Lord. And because his heart becomes imbued with that, he is eligible to go back to Godhead. So the first, that's why tattvata basically means he should have faith also. That's why Prabhupada said that there should be faith. Faith factor is there. Because he has faith, the real faith also gives rise to attachment. Nishtha gives rise to ruchi, attachment, attraction. And that attraction and attachment gives rise to absorption in Krishna, rati. And that rati leads to love, like that. So that's how they go back to Godhead. What is the exact difference between Mayavadi and Brahmavadis and Shunyavadis? Shunyavadis consider everything to be void and nothing exists after this life. Mayavadis consider Lord's form to be made up of Maya. Whereas Brahmavadis don't have like that understanding. They accept the Lord's form to be transcendental, but they are attracted more to impersonal effulgence of the Lord. That is the difference. Brahmavadis go to the Brahma Jyoti. Mayavadis remain into cycle of birth and death. Shunyavadis also they may enter into Shunya like that. Even if a living entity works extremely hard for attaining some material success, will he still get only that much as per his previous pious activity, or there is some other determining factor? Yeah, he will eventually get, because if he is working hard in a honest manner, then that is also good karma he is accumulating, and that's how he will get the results. So that's why we see usually hard work brings results. Why? Because if that hard work is done honestly, that is also kind of good karma, which also leads to, so there is a strong desire and there is a good karma, and that's how it leads to the result also, like that.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so that means if we are doing work honestly, that means we are earning good karma.
Yes.
Maybe it is by doing our jobs or doing our, grasthashram duties. Are we earning good karma by that?
Some degree at least. Some degree at least. At least we are not doing bad karma, so there is some good karma.
Okay.
Again, I will clarify the definition of good karma is strictly, if you see the definition of good karma is doing prescribed duties according to varnashrama dharma, which are mentioned in scriptures. That's a good karma definition. So that's why I said, when you are doing your work honestly, at least some degree you are doing good karma, because at least you are not acting dishonestly. Like if you are writing exams, if you are not cheating, if you are sincerely writing exams, some kind of good karma is there. Right? If you are studying, there is some kind of good karma. It's not totally bad karma, like that way. But strictly speaking, the good karma will be based on varnashrama, prescribed duties according to varnashrama. That would be the actual good karma. Okay, so we can stop here, Prabhus.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Arjun sir.
Prabhuji, in the 11th verse, Krishna is saying, everyone follows my path in all respects. So we sometimes would argue with the peoples, right? Because everyone says that no, all paths leads to the same destination.
I
So
was
here, I
expecting
mean,
this
in
question.
one sense, yeah, in one sense, I mean, that is also true. Although they are taking a D route, but then everyone is, although the path of sense gratification also probably you learn through multiple lifetimes and they eventually land there only. So in that sense, it is true also, right, Praveen?
Path of sense gratification also leads to Krishna, provided that the sense gratification is done under Vedic system,
Okay.
not karma. Vikarma path doesn't lead to Krishna. You know. So when this question was also asked to Chetan Chantu, and he's given very nice answer on this. You can hear that Chetan Chantu's class. That does this mean all paths lead to same goal? All transcendental paths lead to same goal. Devi karma yoga, jnana yoga, karma kanda. So through yoga ladder, it will ultimately lead to same goal. Maybe through detour process, but not that the path of sinful activities will lead to the same goal of going to Krishna. Yato mat tato pat, that is not supported here. So the point here is that it refers to everybody is looking for Krishna and they're hankering for Krishna, and in this way they are searching for Krishna but in a material world. This way, through material manifestations, they want to fulfill their hankering for Krishna. So sarvashaha, everybody follows my path means everybody is aspiring for me. So that's what Prabhupada explains in the purport also. So
Pruji, just last question. So, as you said that all transcendental path leads to the same destination, but the time frame will be different for those paths.
yes, so we discussed that very elaborately in the 3rd chapter.
Yeah.
Very elaborate discussions we had at karma kanda. It leads to karma yoga, sakama, nishkama. Then it leads to jnana yoga, then ashtanga yoga, and ultimately bhakti yoga, like that. So, but yeah, the time frame will be different. That's why we discuss this step by step process and elevated process. Elevator process is bhakti yoga, directly take to bhakti yoga. That is like an elevator, taking a lift, and following a yoga ladder is step by step process. So yes, those who take step by step process, it will take long time. That is true. Yeah. So here we see that in terms of this thing. So when it says, Krishna says that, Arjun Sarthi Prabhu had asked this, when Krishna says that everybody follows my path. So the meaning of that is what Purijan Prabhu, we read it also. Not only my devotees reciprocate with me, but in all different ways of all different kinds of human beings, they also follow my path. Means Gyanis, Karmis, Yogis, and worshippers of demigods, all are following my path, Krishna says. In other words, because I incorporate myself in all identities, all the processes of jnana, karma, and so on constitute the path towards me. This is the understanding of Manush. What is that? Tasya akartaram api ama. Meaning.
Manusha-patha sarvasva.
Yeah.
ये
So
यथामां प्रपद्यन्ते
यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः. तो उसका मतलब क्या है? Because I incorporate myself into different identities of this world, so that's why all the process of jnana, karma, and so on constitute a path towards me. That way. So path of karma means path of karma according to Vedas. That also is a path towards the Lord. So we have to always understand these two differences. When we say karmis now, so karmis are not exactly karmis, according to the scriptural definition of karma, means the person who follows Vedic karma kandiya path of demigod worship and this and that. That is called karmi. So, but many people in this world, they are not following any Vedic path now. So they cannot be called as exactly as karmis also. They are different. Maybe they can be termed as weak karmis or something, but not exactly karmis. So path of karma also, and what to speak of path of jnana, path of this thing, they also lead to Lord eventually. Okay.
Prabhuji, just doubt here. As
Yeah.
you said that the people who follow like the demigod worship and all those things, but those who follow their own dharma in the regular works and everything, are they come under the karmis or not?
Dharma is what exactly?
Like say day-to-day activities and some things for maintaining all these things, the house and other things also.
If they are
In
done
the
according to the scriptural injunctions, that is a path of karma. Vedo pranito dharma.
so they will be coming under the karmis then.
Yeah. If a person is acting according to his Veda dharma, Vedic dharma, then he is called as karmi. But if a person is performing in relation to Krishna, then he is bhakta. He is not just a karmi. If he is doing in knowledge, then he is karma yogi. He is not just a karmi. Karmi means what? He simply wants to do his duties and in order to get fruitive results. That is karma. Karma yogi means he has knowledge that Krishna is the doer, Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary. So he sacrifices through this knowledge, he sacrifices the fruits of his activities for Krishna. So if he does partially, that is Sakama Karma Yogi. If he does fully, he is Nishkama Karma Yogi. And Jnana Yogi, he gives up karma and engages fully into cultivation of knowledge. That is Jnana Yogi. Ashtanga Yogi, he takes to meditation. Based on his acquired knowledge, he takes to meditation on the Supreme Lord. And Bhakti Yogi is the one who surrenders himself completely to the Supreme Lord and does everything what pleases the Lord. So whereas all other below other rungs of their ladder, they are more interested in doing what they want to do. A Bhakta is more interested in doing what Krishna wants him to do. So now, if the activities of a person, a devotee, he may be doing normal activities in terms of maintenance of family and maintenance of doing his job and all that. But if they are done in accordance with the guidance of Krishna and spiritual master, then he is not karmi, he is a bhakta. Why? Because he is doing based on Krishna's directions. But if he is doing for his own satisfaction to that degree, he is in karma yoga path, kind of like that. So it is, the whole factor is based on how much is Atmendriya Priti Ichha and how much here Krishnendriya Priti Vancha. How much one desires to serve Krishna and how much one acts to satisfy one's own desires. Based on that, one will be termed as bhakta or a karma or karma yogi or whatever like that. So somebody is taking care of family as a service to Lord. He keeps Krishna in the center of his family and he's taking care of family. So his every activity to take care of family, like for example, taking the family members to hospital or something, is not karma, it is bhakti. Why bhakti? Because he is doing so that Krishna will be worshipped nicely. Goal is to serve Krishna. So he is a bhakta only. It is not a karma. But when it is called as karma, when he wants to enjoy the fruits for himself, he is doing it for his own pleasure, then it is karma. Some part of karma is there. So then there is some karma mishrita bhakti is there. There is a karma yoga. There is a sakam nishkam karma yoga. There is a sakam karma yoga, and there is a karma. So usually a person with karma, he has no reference to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, as soon as the reference to Supreme Lord comes, that's why the word yoga. Yoga means union with the Supreme Lord. So then he becomes karma yogi. He never remains karmi. Karmi means no reference to the Supreme Lord. So now somebody may say, I am not doing the job according to Vedic system. So is it a vikarma or it is a bhakti or karma? What is it? So if you are doing it under the sanction of Supreme Lord and the sanction of Guru, Sadhu, Shastras, then even the so-called non-Vedic activity also becomes spiritualized. And that's how it's a part of bhakti. So it all depends quite a lot on the intention of a person also. What person is intending to do. So somebody is working in a particular manner, which may not be mentioned in the Vedic as a Vedic duty, still that can be part of bhakti. Why? Because it is done with the sanction. It is done honestly and it is done by the sanction of the superior authorities. And that's why it can be the part of bhakti. All right. Okay. So thank you all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very much.
Thank you, Guruji. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
you.